the heartbreaking tragedy of Courtney Hadwin from America's Got Talent. When millions of people first saw Courtney Hadwin step onto the America's Got Talent stage in 2018, they expected another nervous teenager hoping for a chance to impress the judges. What they got instead was one of the most shocking auditions in the show's history. The shy 13-year-old from England transformed into a powerhouse performer the moment the music started, leaving the audience stunned and earning praise from judges around the world. To many viewers, Courtney's story seemed like a dream come true. A young girl with extraordinary talent suddenly became an international sensation overnight. Her audition quickly spread across social media, gathering millions of views and turning her into one of the most talked-about contestants of the season. But behind the standing ovations and viral fame was a much more complicated reality. Long before America's Got Talent, Courtney Hadwin lived a quiet life in County Durham, England. Unlike the energetic performer audiences would later see on stage, Courtney was known for being extremely shy in everyday situations. Speaking in front of strangers could be difficult for her. Interviews made her nervous. Even simple social interactions often felt overwhelming. Music became her escape. While other children found confidence through sports or social activities, Courtney discovered that singing allowed her to express feelings she struggled to communicate in ordinary conversation. When she sang, the fear seemed to disappear. The stage became the one place where she felt completely free. As a child, she was inspired by legendary artists such as Janis Joplin, James Brown, and Otis Redding. Their raw emotion and powerful performances helped shape her unique style. Rather than following modern pop trends, Courtney developed a voice that sounded decades older than her age. People who heard her perform locally were often amazed by the contrast. Off stage, she appeared quiet and reserved. On stage, she seemed fearless. That contrast would eventually capture the attention of television producers. Before appearing on America's Got Talent, Courtney competed on several talent programs in the United Kingdom. She appeared on The Voice Kids UK in 2017, where her powerful performances attracted attention and helped introduce her to a larger audience. Although she didn't win the competition, the experience gave her valuable exposure and prepared her for an even bigger opportunity. Then came the invitation that would change everything. In 2018, Courtney traveled to the United States to audition for America's Got Talent. Standing before judges Simon Cowell, Heidi Klum, Mel B, and Howie Mandel, she appeared so nervous that many viewers feared she might not even make it through the performance. The audience watched as she spoke softly and struggled to hide her anxiety. Then, the music began. What happened next became television history. As the opening notes of Janis Joplin's Hard to Handle filled the theater, Courtney transformed instantly. Her movements, voice, confidence, and energy exploded across the stage. The audience erupted in disbelief. Simon Cowell compared her to legendary performers, while Howie Mandel was so impressed that he awarded her the Golden Buzzer, sending her directly to the live shows. Within hours, the audition went viral. Millions of viewers watched the performance online. News outlets around the world covered the story. Music fans debated whether they had just witnessed the arrival of a future superstar. For Courtney, however, the sudden fame brought challenges that few people could see. One day, she was a regular teenager attending school. The next day, she was recognized internationally. The pressure was enormous. Every performance was now compared to her famous audition. Every appearance generated headlines. Every mistake was analyzed by strangers online. Expectations continued to grow higher and higher. Many young performers struggle with fame, but the challenge can be even greater for someone who already deals with intense shyness and anxiety. While fans saw confidence on stage, Courtney still had to navigate interviews, public appearances, and constant attention away from the spotlight. The contrast between public perception and personal reality created a difficult balancing act. People expected her to be the same fearless performer at all times. But Courtney was still a teenager trying to adjust to a completely new life. As America's Got Talent continued, she delivered several memorable performances and advanced deep into the competition. Although she ultimately did not win the season, she had already achieved something remarkable. Millions of people now knew her name. Yet the end of the competition marked the beginning of a new challenge. For many reality show contestants, life after television can be far more difficult than the competition itself. The spotlight that once shines so brightly can suddenly fade. Audiences move on. New contestants appear. Public attention shifts elsewhere. For a young artist who experiences overnight success, maintaining momentum can become an emotional and professional struggle. And for Courtney Hadwin, that struggle was only beginning. After America's Got Talent ended, many fans expected Courtney Hadwin's career to skyrocket immediately. Her audition had become one of the most viewed performances in the show's history, and industry experts predicted a bright future. Yet the reality of life after a viral moment proved far more complicated than anyone imagined. For most viewers, success seems simple. A contestant gains fame, signs a record deal, releases music, and becomes a star. But the music industry rarely works that way. Many talented performers discover that keeping public attention is much harder than gaining it in the first place. Courtney was only 14 years old when she found herself facing challenges that even experienced artists struggle to handle. Suddenly, every decision mattered. Fans wanted new music immediately. Record executives looked for commercial potential. Social media users constantly compared her latest performances to her famous audition. The pressure to live up to expectations became enormous. One of the biggest difficulties was that people expected Courtney to remain exactly the same performer they saw on America's Got Talent. Audiences fell in love with the energetic, unpredictable teenager who seemed to channel the spirit of classic rock legends. But Courtney was growing up. As she entered her later teenage years, her voice naturally matured. Her musical tastes evolved. Her artistic identity continued to develop. Like any young artist, she wanted the freedom to experiment and discover who she truly was. Unfortunately, not everyone welcomed those changes. Whenever she released new performances online, some viewers praised her growth while others complained that she wasn't the same person they remembered from television. Every artist faces criticism, but for someone who became famous at such a young age, the comments could be especially difficult to read. The internet can be a harsh place. Social media gave Courtney a direct connection with fans around the world, but it also exposed her to constant judgment. Strangers felt free to criticize her appearance, her voice, her musical choices, and even her personality. Many young performers have spoken openly about how online criticism affects their mental health. Even positive attention can become overwhelming when millions of people feel entitled to express opinions about every aspect of your life. For Courtney, who had already struggled with shyness before fame, this environment presented unique challenges. Behind every viral video was a real teenager trying to navigate adolescence under public scrutiny. While many of her classmates experienced ordinary teenage years, Courtney spent much of her time traveling, recording music, giving interviews, and managing expectations created by international fame. Moments that should have been private often became public discussions. Despite these pressures, she continued pursuing her passion. In 2019, Courtney released original music and worked to establish herself as more than just a reality show contestant. She wanted audiences to recognize her as an artist with her own voice and creative vision. That journey required patience. The music industry often rewards instant success, but building a lasting career takes years. Courtney faced the difficult task of transitioning from a television sensation into a professional recording artist. Many performers never successfully make that transition. There were periods when fans heard very little from her. Some people assumed she had disappeared from music altogether. Others speculated that her career had stalled. Rumors spread online, creating confusion about her future. The truth was far less dramatic. Courtney continued working behind the scenes, writing songs, developing her sound, and growing as an artist. Unlike many young celebrities who chase constant publicity, she often preferred focusing on music rather than remaining in the spotlight. Still, the quieter periods created another challenge. In today's entertainment industry, audiences expect constant content. If an artist takes time away to develop new material, some fans begin wondering what happened. This pressure can force performers to prioritize visibility over creativity. Courtney resisted that temptation. Rather than rushing projects simply to stay relevant, she concentrated on finding her own artistic direction. It was a slower path, but one that allowed her greater control over her future. Meanwhile, the memory of her America's Got Talent audition continued following her everywhere. Years after the performance aired, people still referenced it as the defining moment of her career. While such recognition is an achievement, it can also become a burden. Artists often want audiences to appreciate their latest work, not just their most famous moment. Imagine spending years developing new skills and creating new music, only to have every conversation return to something you did at 13 years old. That became one of Courtney's biggest professional challenges. She wasn't trying to recreate the past. She was trying to build a future. As the years passed, she gradually released new material and continued performing. Her voice matured, her songwriting improved, and her confidence as an artist grew stronger. Those who followed her journey closely noticed an important transformation. The nervous teenager who once shocked America was slowly becoming a mature musician with her own identity. Yet the emotional cost of that journey should never be underestimated. The heartbreaking part of Courtney Hadwin's story is not a single tragedy or dramatic event. It is the immense pressure that comes with becoming famous before you have fully discovered who you are. Few people understand what it feels like to have millions of strangers form opinions about you while you're still growing up. Few people know what it is like to carry expectations created by a viral moment that changed your life forever. And few people realize how difficult it can be to remain true to yourself when the entire world seems to want you to stay the same. For Courtney Hadwin, the greatest challenge was never performing on stage. It was learning how to grow beyond the spotlight while staying connected to the passion that started everything in the first place. And her story was far from over. As the excitement surrounding America's Got Talent slowly faded, Courtney Hadwin entered a new chapter of her life. It was no longer about proving herself to judges or shocking audiences with a single performance. Instead, the focus became something much more difficult: building a lasting career while growing into adulthood. Many child stars struggle during this transition. The qualities that make a young performer stand out do not always guarantee success later in life. Audiences change. Trends change. The entertainment industry changes. Young artists must find ways to evolve without losing what made them special in the first place. For Courtney, this period became a test of patience and determination. While some former reality show contestants disappeared completely, she continued working on her music. She released original songs, collaborated with producers, and explored different styles that reflected her own personality rather than simply repeating the formula that had made her famous. This wasn't always easy. Every new release invited comparisons to her America's Got Talent audition. Fans often wanted the same explosive energy and raw vocal power they had witnessed years earlier. But Courtney was no longer 13 years old. She was becoming her own artist. The challenge was convincing audiences to grow alongside her. As she matured, her confidence also began to change. The shy girl who once struggled to speak during interviews slowly became more comfortable expressing herself publicly. Though she never transformed into a loud celebrity constantly seeking attention, she learned how to handle the spotlight on her own terms. That growth may not have generated viral headlines, but it represented one of her greatest achievements. Fame can be overwhelming for adults. For teenagers, it can be life-changing. Every appearance, every comment, and every performance becomes part of a public record that follows them for years. Mistakes that ordinary teenagers make privately often become public discussions for young celebrities. Courtney experienced this reality firsthand. Yet through all the pressure, she continued moving forward. One reason many fans remained loyal was because she never seemed interested in becoming famous simply for the sake of fame. Her focus consistently returned to music. Whether performing live, recording songs, or sharing updates online, her passion for singing remained at the center of everything she did. That authenticity helped her maintain a strong connection with supporters. Many viewers who first discovered her during America's Got Talent continued following her journey years later. They weren't just interested in her powerful voice anymore. They wanted to see her succeed as a person. And perhaps that's what makes Courtney Hadwin's story so compelling. It isn't a story about a contestant who won a television competition and instantly became a superstar. It's a story about resilience. It's about a young girl who faced overwhelming expectations after becoming famous almost overnight. It's about someone who battled shyness and anxiety while performing before millions of people. It's about learning how to grow up in public without losing yourself. Throughout her journey, there were moments when it would have been easier to walk away. The pressure, criticism, and constant comparisons could have convinced her to abandon music altogether. Instead, she kept going. She continued writing. She continued recording. She continued performing. And most importantly, she continued believing in herself. Today, Courtney Hadwin remains admired by fans around the world who remember the incredible talent that first stunned audiences in 2018. Her career continues to evolve, and her story serves as a reminder that success is not always measured by trophies, charts, or headlines. Sometimes success means surviving challenges that nobody else can see. Sometimes success means staying true to your passion despite obstacles. And sometimes success means finding the courage to keep moving forward when the world expects perfection. The heartbreaking aspect of Courtney Hadwin's story was never a dramatic accident or a shocking scandal. The real struggle was carrying the weight of extraordinary expectations at such a young age while trying to discover her own identity. Yet despite those challenges, she refused to let them define her. The nervous teenager who walked onto the America's Got Talent stage years ago became an inspiration to countless people facing their own fears and insecurities. Her journey proves that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is moving forward despite it. And while the future remains unwritten, one thing is certain. Courtney Hadwin's voice did more than impress judges or collect millions of views online. It inspired people. It gave hope to young dreamers. And it showed the world that sometimes the quietest person in the room can possess the loudest voice of all. That is the true story of Courtney Hadwin, one of talent, perseverance, growth, and determination. A story that continues long after the cameras stopped rolling. The spotlight may have introduced Courtney Hadwin to the world, but her strength is what continues to keep her journey alive.